to the book. So is there any particular way we want to do it this week?
Yeah, we should probably go straight into website and email, or rather intro, uh, naming the show. This is the What's Next podcast.
Tell you what, let's do we'll do the intro. I'll throw you the email. You throw it back to me to the website. At the website, I'll start talking about. I'll cue you from the website. You'll recognize it.
Okay.
Okay. You'll recognize your cue when I start talking about the website.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. You weren't ready.
I was just about to start, but okay.
Well, you were taking a drink when I got to 1.
I was going to pause just a moment and start. I was taking a sip, but okay.
All right.
I mean, there's got to be, you want like you go 1 and then I go 1, 2, 3, okay. And then I start talking. And during the 1, 2, 3, I was swallowing, right. Getting my throat wet. Okay.
All right. I'll count it down again. 3, 2, 1.
Hello again. This is the What's Next podcast. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
We're the guys from the 6 Month Behind podcast, and we're here to expand your knowledge of what you can read in the Marvel Unlimited app. Not just the basics, but the deep stuff about what you read after you've read, Civil War and Secret Invasion and all of that stuff. How you doing, man? You doing good?
I'm okay. I'm doing all right. How about you?
Another 14-hour day, another podcast, another day in life. There you
go. That's the life of us professional podcasters.
There you go. The email is
6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Please email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
The website is www.6monthsbehind. You'll find all kinds of cool stuff there. You'll find the up in the toolbar, you'll find the What's Next episodes. You'll find the Avengers Disassembled episode we did last week. You'll find a couple of the X-Men episodes that we've done recently. And you will find this episode that we're doing this week on the Astonishing X-Men from 2004 to 2013. Dude, it ran that long? I didn't realize that. By Josh.
Yeah, we're only focusing on the early half, but yeah.
I didn't realize it ran that long.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he wrote it that long. Holy cow.
He didn't.
Okay. But the whole Astonishing X-Men ran that long for what is that, 9 years? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Since we talked about New X-Men a couple weeks ago, I figured we would continue with its spiritual successor in Astonishing X-Men. It was written by Joss Whedon and art by John Cassidy. Great art. Love the art in this book. And yes, it's that Joss Whedon, the guy that did the Avengers movies, that did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that did that show on Fox that everybody loves that got canceled after one season that everybody raves about but isn't actually any good.
What show is that?
I can't remember.
It's Firefly. It's
that's Firefly. Yeah.
I thought that ran for 2 seasons. Or was it like one season and some movies? Or
no, it was one season. They did a movie.
Okay.
Anyway, same Joss Whedon, legend among nerds. And it did run through 2013 because you had, after Joss Whedon did issues 1 through 24. After that, you had Warren Ellis pick it up with art by Simon Bianchi, issues 25 to 35 thereabout. And then after that, you had it picked up by Marjorie Liu. But we're just going to focus on the first 24 to 35 issues because it kind of took a real dive after that.
Can I just say Warren Ellis is like one of those people who's just scary to look at.
Like he writes really dark stuff, And you look at him and you go, yeah, he looks like the kind of guy that would write that kind of stuff.
He's like somebody out of a horror movie. I mean, dude, just Google his picture and just Google Warren Ellis image, and you're like, oh, okay. Anyway,
yeah, I would argue that Alan Moore is worse, but
they run a close race.
Yeah, if you put the two together and had to decide who's uglier, it'd be a hard contest.
Yes.
And
this is anyway, fat guys calling somebody ugly.
Yeah, exactly. So, while in terms of the storylines, it was not a direct follow up to what happened in the new X-Men. It was kind of a spiritual successor in that it involved a lot of the same characters, and Joss Whedon was working off of the Grant Morrison's material on New X-Men when writing this series. You've got Cyclops, Emma Frost, who's like the co-leader of the X-Men at this point. Beast is there, Wolverine's there, Kitty Pryde, Lockheed, which is her pet dragon friend. Storm comes along a little later, and it's actually, excuse me, it's actually where they bring Colossus back. They resurrect Colossus in this series, and he's been back ever since. So the
books won't load.
Oh, well, that's what happens when you open the Marvel Unlimited app. So the series introduces a bunch of new characters, including some of the Marvel favorites. It introduces a character named Dr. Kavita Rao, who you kind of don't really know until this story. But if you've seen X-Men The Last Stand, she's the doctor who's working on the mutant cure. In fact, the first 7 or 8 issues of this series deal with that directly. The first 24 issues really focus on the prospect of a new cure for mutants. And it's actually the basis of the story for X-Men The Last Stand, which most of us have blotted out of our memories. But, it had its highlights, and that's where she comes from. It's where that storyline comes from. This is the series where Agent Brand and Sword are introduced, as well as her relationship with Hank McCoy, which is explicitly physical. If you read the series, there's some banter between the two of them. Anyway. This is also where, with the introduction of Armor, the mutant Armor, she has like some psychic ability to cast a suit of armor around her. She was really big in the X-Men books for a little while, and you really don't see her. You haven't seen her in a while. She hasn't been in any of the major X-Men books in a few years now. And I don't know whatever happened to her. I guess she's off doing her own thing. It introduces the setting of Breakworld, which comes into play a little bit later in the first 24 issues. And most importantly, this is when the X-Men relocate to San Francisco. If you remember, they spent quite a few years in San Francisco, not just in San Francisco, but later they transitioned to, they called it X Island or Island X.
It's called
X Haven.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was Imworld that had been sunk into the ocean. They raised it from the ocean. If you don't remember what Imworld is, it was Magneto's giant asteroid base that he kept in space for a long time and intended to turn into some sort of mutant utopia. And this is really the series where you start to see, if you read this, you start to see where Scott Summers is really making that heel turn.
Good wrestling reference.
Yeah. This is where you kind of start to see the darkness in him creeping outward. So, like I said, the first 24 issues focus on the prospect of a new mutant cure. Hank McCoy takes a particular interest in it. At first, it's just scientifically, but later he considers curing himself. Also, remember, this is around the same time that he he went through his secondary mutation and he's more beast-like than he's ever been. He and Wolverine actually spent a good deal of issue 3 fighting about it, because in Wolverine's mind, you're a mutant and that's what makes you unique and you should embrace that. Whereas, there are some mutants who look at the prospect of a cure and of a normal life as a human being and think that maybe that trade-off wouldn't be so bad. So there's a number of things that happen after that particular story arc, but the run culminates in the X-Men traveling to Breakworld, which, if you don't know what Breakworld is, you really have to read this series to understand it. And I'm not going to reveal any more than that because it's totally worth reading. But what happens on Breakworld has some pretty long-running repercussions on the X-Men, and one X-Man in particular. So after issue number 24, Warren Ellis and Simon Bianchi pick it up. Simon Bianchi is one of my favorite X-Men artists. I like Warren Ellis's writing. It tends to be really dark, and it continues here. It's not nearly as dark as some of his like Punisher stuff or some of his creator-owned stuff, but it's there's a lot of death and destruction and high stakes and mutant extinction and stuff like that. It also introduces the concept of the ghost boxes, which, again, you're going to have to read this to really understand what that is, but it is also
I'm going to tell you the truth. I read the Ghost Boxes at the time, read the Ghost Boxes Limited series, and I really did never understand them. But that's just me and my limited brain.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like I said, the Warren Ellis run runs from about issue 25 to 35. From there, it gets into Marjorie Liu's run on the series, which ends in 2013. Not going to focus on that so much just because I felt like it takes a real dive in quality after that. Not that she's not a good writer. It's just that following in the footsteps of Joss Whedon and then Warren Ellis, it wasn't great work. Anyway, the legendary Joss Whedon continues to write amazing X-Men stories in this run, and it's really an instant classic. Probably some of the best X-Men writing of that time. It's also a really good one to introduce new people to, or anyone who's interested in the X-Men, which is why I'm suggesting it now. So if you never got around to reading it, probably a good time to do it now.
I'll tell you the truth. I bought these off the stand a decade and a half ago.
Yeah. And
I was glancing at them because you and I read so many comics, and we have 2 shows to prep for. We're reading our, stuff, God forbid we read things for fun, but we do, we have things on the side that we're just reading for entertainment purposes. We have 28 comic books to read this week that came out alone. But so it's not like, we read everything, and I barely knew what we were doing this week for what's next, because next week's I'm getting ready. We alternate in doing this show, so I'm getting something ready for next week. So I just, as you were talking about this, I sat down and looked at these issues, and I remembered how good this run was, but because this is the first time I've looked at these books in probably a decade. And I remembered how good these stories actually were, how good the art was. Just kind of when I finally got the app to open these books, I realized how good these stories were, how good this art was, and this really was a classic run. And this really is some good stories.
Yeah, Joss Whedon and John Cassaday won an Eisner for Best Continuing Series in 2006. So it was one of the more celebrated X-Men runs at the time. And it's still, when people say, hey, what's a good X-Men comic book to start with, they'll often point to this one.
Yeah.
Or if you want to see a really good example of what his comic book work looks like.
Right. And one of the things that tells a story is when things stand the test of time. And several of these things have stood the test of time. Agent Brand has stood the test of time. Sword has stood the test of time. The resurrection of Colossus, the X-Men relocating to San Francisco, all these things have stood the test of time. And that's how you know you've written a good story.
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men stayed in San Francisco for 4 or 5 years. It was only recently that they went back to Westchester.
I think it was at Secret Wars and went back to Westchester, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Or was it during AVX? Was it during AVX or Secret Wars? One of the two.
I forget. Well, at one point in time, you had 2 X-Men teams. You had 2 schools. You had Cyclops' thing going on the West Coast, and then Wolverine was leading. He went back to the X Mansion
in Westchester.
And renamed it the Jean Grey School for Mutants or whatever, and had his own team.
Yeah.
So you had both for a little while, but yeah, AVX might have been where. Well, I think AVX led into Schism, which is where the 2 parted ways.
Correct.
We might talk about Schism and then Wolverine and the X-Men sometime, because Jason Aaron actually wrote Wolverine and the X-Men, which is where you see Wolverine and his team of X-Men back in New York, and that's also a really good run.
We need to talk about all that AVX and
we'll get there.
And
we'll get there.
That's a good series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I mean, Colossus has been around since then. They reignited the romance between he and Kitty Pryde, which, if you have read the series, you realize takes kind of a tragic turn at the end. But yeah, it's the art is fantastic. I still, because I read this series, anytime I see John Cassidy's name on a book, I'm compelled to buy it just because of his art.
Yeah. There are certain artists that just compel you to do that sort of thing. Mark Brooks is somebody who's approaching that status with me now.
I'm not familiar with his work.
If you're not now, you will be very soon. I'll point some out to you as we go.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. If you just want to read the first 24 issues, that's cool. That's the Joss Whedon, John Cassidy run. If you enjoy that, I would highly encourage you to continue reading the Warren Ellis stuff, and the Marjorie Liu stuff is not bad either. It's read that too if you're interested. But really, just the first 24 to 35 issues is what we're focused on.
There you go.
Yeah. And then next week, I don't think we have decided on exactly what we're going to be doing, but we'll find out next week.
We're going to be doing a Spider-Man show. We're going to be doing a Captain America show. We're going to be doing a Daredevil show. It's all coming out in the next few weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. And if you want to tell us what you think of Astonishing X-Men, you're welcome to email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Please also visit our website where you can find the links to this series.
And the notes at www.6monthsbehind.com.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week.
Be sure to check out the other podcast, which is 6 Months Behind, where we discuss all the books that come out every week. Peace.
Yeah, we discuss all the new current stuff.
There you go.
Bye, guys. Okay. Are you plugged into your Ethernet cable?
Yes.
Okay, you're lagging pretty bad.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Plugged in the Ethernet cable.
Maybe it's me.
Okay. Dump those notes. Go over to the other notes. Go to those notes.
You post the notes or am I posting
6,
notes?
9, 11, 10. I can do it real quick.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Do you have wisdom this week?
See, I'll find wisdom. I'm a wise man.
It was just under 20 minutes for that, but that's fine.
Do 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 do.
You got a classic reading?
Oh, I don't have a bucket list, but my bucket list is long. Oh,
Oh, the joke would have been funnier if I could have heard what you said.
oh, sorry.
Ah, you're buffering pretty bad, dude.
Some of these are so vulgar I can't even put them up there. Okay, that would work. I like that one. Now, what is that? What? No.
Are you sure you're not running any programs in the background you don't need to be running?
Hang on.
Windows isn't trying to install updates or anything.
Hang on. Like,
Why did you? Oh no, never mind.
is there something I can assist you with?
I thought you posted the notes twice, but you didn't. You're fine.
I'm a highly trained professional.
All right. You ready?
Dude, I got nothing, man. Nothing.
What?
There's nothing running.
Okay.
There's nothing running. I'm using 16% of my CPU.
Yeah, it wouldn't be your CPU, it'd be your internet. But
I understand.
okay.
I'm looking at my internet usage. Would you like to see a picture of it?
No.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
I have no idea what this means, but you know, I'm looking at it. What's a KBPS?
Kilobytes per second,
What's supposed to be good?
not kilobytes per second. Megabytes per second. Minimum.
And it's running about 1 megabyte per second.
Yeah, that's abysmal. There are people with cell phones in Africa who have better speeds than that.
I'm pondering how to get it better.
Switch providers.
Dude.
I know. We've been over it. All right, let's just do it.
People with cell phones in Africa. I appreciate the insult.
I'm just saying, man. Like, you should ask who are you with? Comcast?
ATT.
Oh, you should tell them to knock your bill in half because they can't deliver you the speeds they advertise.
Am I lagging right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I see why.
Why's that?
Because it just dropped to about 400 kilobytes a second. 392?
Yeah. Is anybody else in the house downloading a ton of stuff? Or
it's the usual stuff. I mean, the DVR is running.
Okay.
People are using devices.
Okay. We'll just try to get through it. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
We ready?
Yep.
Okay. You got the intro?
Hang on. So, do you know who the Ball family is?
Who?
Ball family.
Something about a family.
Google this. Google LeVar Ball on WWE last night, so you will understand the reference. There's about a 50-second clip. Problem is his 15-year-old son, LaMelo, couldn't figure out how to say anything. Actually, LeVar was using the N-word, and WWE had to come out and apologize for it.
I don't think I heard this. I saw something about it on Twitter.
He said it was his son, but I never heard his son using it. So,
why was he in the ring?
Promoting. They were at the Staples Center, and Lonzo is the new Laker, the number one draft pick by the Lakers. So, you're at Staples Center, you're in LA. In theory, you bring the number one draft pick down and you get a big pop. Problem is, kid can't go anywhere without his dad. So he had to bring his dad, which means his 15-year-old brother had to come along. And, next thing you know, you got chaos in the ring. So you want to be the dad or the 15-year-old son? Just pick one.
Whichever.
It doesn't matter. Just pick one and I'll make it funny.
I'll be the kid.
Okay, you be the kid. I gotta make sure this isn't insulting to blacks. I'm LeVar Ball, you're LaMelo Ball, and we're too stupid to go anywhere without insulting people.
Okay, can you get all that out?
Yeah, I can get it out. I mean, but that's not insulting anyone, is it?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't either. Okay, here we go. Hit it.
What did him and the Miz get into? What's a Miz?
The Miz is a wrestler.
Oh, well, he should get a better name.
His name is Mike Mizzanelli.
Oh, now I understand why he goes by the Miz, because he has
There
a
you
crappy
go.
last name. He should continue changing his name to Chris Jericho or something better.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yes.
Got the intro ready?
Yep.
All right. Counting in. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of 6/19/17. I am Pat,
And I am Sean.
and this week we're LeVar Ball and LaMelo Ball. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Because we're just too stupid to go anywhere, even a WWE ring, without doing something completely stupid.
Yeah. If you don't know who either of those people are, just Google them like I did 3 minutes ago, and you'll find out what happened.
Yeah, they just Google some of the antics of LeVar Ball, and you will be entertained for hours. You will be entertained endlessly.
Indeed. What you been up to, man?
Oh, just working, reading comic books, working.
Yeah, me too.
And working and reading comic books. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, man.
That's our life.
Welcome to the 6 Months Behind podcast. You can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Please visit our website,
www.6monthsbehind.com, where here it is, June 19th, and the June alternate covers are finally up. Thank you very much. Finally up. Dude, I don't know how many alternate covers there are. There's got to be like 200. Okay. It's cover after cover after cover.
Yeah, we talked like a week ago, and it seems like it seems like you were never going to get those all up there because there are just so many.
For every number one book you see, for every IVX book you see, for every Civil War book you see, there is a dozen alternate covers. There's a hip hop cover. There's a blank cover. There's a Black Panther 50th anniversary cover. There's an action figure cover. There's a Mike Deodato cover. I could go on. There's literally 10 alternate covers for each number one, for each Civil War book, for each IVX book. It's insane.
Yeah, and I can understand the blank covers more than I can some of the others, like the action figure covers. I don't get the action figure covers. I understand the blank ones because then you can take them to your favorite artist who drew the book and have them do a doodle for you at Comic-Con on the cover.
But here's the thing. There's some cool covers in there, man. There's some good looking stuff in there. It's worth a look. There's some good looking covers in there.
Oh yeah, always is. That's one thing is Marvel's always going to do 100 covers that are fantastic that no one will ever see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't forget the other podcast, which is our What's Next podcast, where we discuss reads that you can find when you get tired of reading, Civil War, Secret War, or maybe you don't like what's come out this week. You can go to our What's Next list. It's a tab there on the website where you can find different subjects or different titles that we've discussed, different storylines that we discuss, or you can just, it's usually there on the main page, the most recent one. It'll give you links to it, discuss the topics in it, and find you something to read.
Yeah. We crawl through the long boxes that is Marvel Unlimited to find the best gems in the app.
Also this week, we talked about this over the weekend via text, and I wanted to bring it up on the podcast, and we haven't discussed this at all. But as we discussed about just about everything in comics, and I'm gonna circle this back around to comics. I went and bought my wife a new computer last weekend, and I needed it in a hurry. It's a long story, but I needed it in a hurry. And you and I discussed the fact that you could have built the computer cheaper than I bought it for. But when I bought it, I wanted something very specific. And when I did, I went to a local brick and mortar store that was owned by a local person that advertised on a local radio station. And when I went in, I specifically got what I wanted. And I told the person, look, I'm here because you advertise with this person on this radio station at this time period. And I paid more for that product to support that local person. Now, that's how local brick and mortar stores stay in business. I could have bought that computer cheaper if you had bought components, put it together. I could have bought the computer cheaper on Amazon.com. When I bought the Alias trade paperback for issues 1 through 7 that came out recently, I bought it from my man Jason at the comic seller. I could have bought that comic book cheaper at Amazon.com. And sometimes I do buy trades. Sometimes I'll buy them electronically. Sometimes I'll buy them online. But if I buy them all at Amazon.com and don't buy them from Jason, if I'll buy all my books online, the comic seller is going to go out of business. So we have to make a choice whether or not we're going to support brick and mortar stores, whether or not we're going to support comic book stores. And we have to choose where we spend our money, or we're going to look up and there's not going to be any brick and mortar stores left. There's not going to be jobs left because we all chose to save a couple of bucks and buy everything online. Now, it's sometimes you have to. All right. I wear an odd size pants. I have looked all over Memphis for those pants. I've tried to spend my money in a brick and mortar store in Memphis with those pants. Can't find them. Buy them on Amazon.com. If somebody would stock them, I'd buy them, but I can't. So I'll buy them on Amazon.com. But whenever possible, I buy from brick and mortar stores.
Yeah. That's why I just wear shorts all the time.
Well, there you go.
Because I'm short, and I can buy a 30 length and still have to have them hemmed 2 or 3 inches.
Yeah, but if we don't support comic book stores, if we don't support brick and mortar stores, we're going to look up in a few years and they're not going to be there.
Exactly. So go support your local comic book shop.
There you go.
Do what I do sometimes, and whatever you're reading in Unlimited that you're really enjoying, go out and buy a couple trades.
Yeah.
I've bought a few of the Gwenpool books like that. Not Gwenpool. Gwenpool sucks. Spider-Gwen.
Gwenpool doesn't suck.
No, Gwenpool doesn't suck. Actually, we'll talk about it later. But, the Old Man Logan stuff, Squirrel Girl, even all the Star Wars stuff. Yeah, go support your local comic book shop, even if you only spend $20 or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting into our books this week, we wanted to let you guys know that we are going to be discussing major plot points of the ongoing series. So there will be spoilers. If you do not like spoilers, or if you've not read the books, please pause here, go read the books, and come back. We'll be here waiting for you.
Yes, we will.
Indeed. We're going to start with another Civil War book this week. They're just slowly trickling in here at the end. It was a nice hot sprint up until right close to the finish line, and now it's just meandering in to the winner circle.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah. Starting with Spider-Man number 10. So this whole issue is really a redux of what happened with Miles and Captain America on the steps of the Capitol. Pardon me.
I thought I lost you.
No.
Okay, sorry.
We're recording this relatively late. And I just am yawning. So his friends have been looking for him all over. They don't know where he is. They finally find him in his dorm room, and he's like huddled down, crying, freaking out, like he's just had a traumatic experience, because he has. So he recounts the whole story to Gank and Goldballs and Kamala. How Tony tried to protect him, how Carol was there and tried to convince him that he needed to come with her, how the two of them got in a fight together, how Carol killed Tony. Yeah, spoiler. If you didn't figure that out, Carol killed Tony Stark.
See, you're still making the assumption Tony is dead.
We know Tony's not dead because we've been reading the new Iron Man book where he's transferred his consciousness into an artificial intelligence, and he is basically alive in computer format, because that's what Tony Stark was always going to do. And through all this, Miles is having doubts about his intentions, that maybe he's not really a good guy. Maybe one day he will snap and maybe he will kill Captain America and everybody else. There's really not, it's a really good issue because of the way they retell the story, but it's not a whole lot of, if you read Civil War #7, it's basically a rehashing of that story. Still a good issue though.
I really enjoyed it because I enjoyed his friends being there, worried about him, coming to support him. And there's a scene at the end with his dad that I thought was enjoyable also.
Yeah. For someone who doesn't like the teenage books, you actually enjoyed something.
I'm telling you, I don't hate the teenage books. I hate the teenage melodrama.
I would call this teenage melodrama.
I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, it was a good book.
Yes, I thought so.
Yeah, and I'm still wondering what's up with his dad and him being a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I still don't understand that.
I don't either. I really, really don't.
Yeah. And then finally this week we had Inhumans versus X-Men #1. Yeah,
this is what we have all been waiting for a very long time. For those of us who have been looking are Inhumans and X-Men fans, this is what we've been waiting for. This sounds confusing as I read it. And what happens is I didn't realize it the first time I read it, that part of this book is a flashback. Because when you begin with the Beast on Muir Island basically talking to himself, but he's talking to the ghost of Scott Summers at the grave. And then he goes to see the assembled leaders of the X-Team and some of the leaders of the mutants. It's a flashback. And it's a flashback from apparently a few days or maybe a week or so from what happens with what you're seeing with the Inhumans. And we go back and forth between the assembled leaders of the X-Teams and where we are with the Inhumans. And we go back and forth. And as I tell this, it sounds confusing. So you just kind of follow me and read the book. So we're there with we begin with the flashback where the assembled teams are there from a few days ago. Then we cut to a scene in the quiet room where a new singer's performing. Then we go back to where what Beast explains is that the Terrigenesis cloud is dissipating and is spreading around the world. As it's dissipating, it's spreading around the world, and it will make the entire Earth uninhabitable for mutants. Not in a few years, not in a few months, but in a few weeks. And there's simply nothing they can do about it. And not at the same time, later, Queen Medusa is preparing some children for the Terrigenesis transformation when Johnny realized that there's something coming for him. Then we cut back to the X-Men who are discussing their options. At the same time, not at the same time. As I said, it gets confusing. The Cloud is in Chechnya where Crystal's team is rescuing a mutant. The Beast warns the assembled teams that the Inhumans that are coming, and he begins to fight with the X-Men because he's convinced that the Inhumans are going to win the war because they've prepared plans for a war. At the same time, Karnak has a visitor. We switch back to Karnak, who's been told he has a visitor. Wolverine tells them they have to take out Lockjaw. They take out Lockjaw. The mutants argue about what they want to do. They decide to take a vote. Storm attacks Beast. When he that was pretty pretty different because Beast decides he's just going to tell the Inhumans what's happening, and Storm just kind of takes him out with a bolt of lightning. That was, what'd you think of that?
I didn't see it coming, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and then she tells Beast that this was her plan too, and you didn't really.
Beast is the only optimist in this situation. They've all decided that it's either fight or die.
Yeah, he's the only one who is an optimist and he's had 8 months and hasn't come up with a solution yet. So I don't know why he thinks he can do it in a few weeks, but And then we cut back to the quiet room, and at this point, everything is current. And right at that moment, Emma Frost and the new singer we saw earlier in the quiet room happens to be Dazzler. They attack Black Bolt. Jean Grey is the visitor that Karnak had. She attacks Karnak, and the mutant that the RIV picked up. Go ahead.
I'm really interested in the Jean Grey Karnak fight. It's going to be like because Jean Grey's going to just sit there and mess with his head the whole time, and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting.
It's like a wizard fight.
Yeah, it really is. It's just eventually Karnak's going to win, but he's going to wear Jean Grey down eventually, and she knows all she's doing is a stalling tactic. But the question is, how long does she have to stall him, and can she stall him long enough?
Right, and she's not alone with him. It ain't just her.
No, and the mutant that Crystal and her team, the RIV, picked up was Magneto, and he takes out her team. And
he was in disguise. They didn't
he was in disguise.
Pick Magneto up randomly.
No, he was in disguise. And what Johnny Storm saw was the rest of the X-Men coming toward New Attilan for a fight. And by the way, I want to say, I bought this off the newsstand. So I bought this issue 6 months ago. And in this issue, I saw Karnak is walking. No braces, no wheelchair. He's walking. For the next 8 issues, however many it's going to be, you're going to see Karnak just walking around like there's nothing wrong with him. No wheelchair, no nothing. So I've been waiting 6 months to see where Karnak got healed, how he got his legs back, how everything just worked out.
When did Karnak get injured?
I've been waiting 6 months. Dude, he's been in the wheelchair since the Secret Wars.
Karnak hasn't been in a wheelchair since Secret Wars.
Not Karnak. The dude that stomps his foot. I don't
know. I don't know anybody that's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he is.
Gorgon?
Gorgon. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So when did Gorgon get out of the wheelchair?
I don't know. Who cares? The Inhumans suck.
Well, I do, because I've been waiting 6 months to figure out how to get out of the wheelchair. I pick up an issue, and I'm like, okay, he's out of the wheelchair. Now I wait 6 months to see how he gets out of the wheelchair. I never figure out how he gets out of the wheelchair.
Well, the wheelchair can also enable him to move on his own.
But he's not, I'm telling you, he ain't going anywhere with the wheelchair from now on.
I don't know. Maybe he's trapped in the psychic Jean Grey world thing going on too.
He ain't. He's going to be trapped somewhere else.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That nice little continuity errors there where they just forget about stuff for a while.
I hate it when they do that, man. I do. Anyway,
they'll probably explain it in 8 months with a flashback issue.
Dude. This was 44 pages, and it was confusing and hard for me to tell because it kept jumping around. And I did a horrible job telling because it was jumping around so much. So I did a horrible job recapping this. This is a great story. And it shows all the X-Men gathered together, making this plan. Really good story.
Yeah, they come up with a plan, and then they execute on it. It's a solid plan. Yeah. And this is their first moves in the giant chess game that is the war between Inhumans versus X-Men, and it only gets better from here.
The question is how long they can stay on the offensive before the Inhumans strike back.
Right.
Yes. Good book. Very good book.
Yeah, I
Very good
enjoyed it too.
Very good series.
Yeah, after reading it, I was like, "Ooh, I want more of this."
Yeah. Yep. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows #2. You know, can I just before we start talking about this? I thought this was a limited issue or limited series. Excuse me. This is an ongoing series.
Oh, really? I thought it was like going to be like a 5 or 6 issue thing.
I did too, man. This is still like number 10 or 11 on the newsstand.
Oh, really? It didn't get canceled?
No.
Okay.
This thing's just rocking along, man.
Well, to be honest, this scratches the itch of a lot of people who have been Spider-Man fans for a long time. A lot of people got really mad when they broke up Mary Jane and Peter Parker and essentially killed their kid. And so you have this kind of alternate reality where that none of that happened, and where they're a superhero crime fighting family.
I guess they'll give it a universe number and off we'll go. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they already have. Because it was one of the worlds that we saw in Secret Wars.
Yes.
And it's a spinoff from that. So yeah, I guess it's its own universe now.
Yeah. And Jared Conway's writing it, doing a great job. Ryan Stegman art's good. It's a good book.
Yeah, it's not half bad.
No, it's I mean, it's not bad. I just it's comic books, man. It's
yeah.
Here's the thing. You sent me a note the other day about somebody tweeting about Secret Empire, and they didn't like it because it was tearing up the Marvel universe with a cosmic cube, and at the end they were going to set everything right again. Dude, it's comic books. Okay, it's not reality. You're suspending belief for a period of time when you read a comic book.
Well, no, but their point was when you use something like a cosmic cube to change reality like that, it's a little lazy on the part of the writer, and I don't disagree. But sometimes it can be used as a trope to work in your favor, but it's often used in a lazy way.
But when you create alternate realities like this, you're doing the same thing. And you've just got to roll with it to enjoy the
right. This story. Is an example of where it was a good use of the technique. Secret Empire is not.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. As someone who's reading it and dare I say enjoying it, I think it is.
I will wait to pass judgment until we actually get it on Unlimited and I read it for myself.
It is getting better as it goes.
Well, that's good news.
Yes.
That makes me hopeful.
Yes, it is getting better as it goes. I mean, in the last issue of Captain America, he walked into the United Nations, declared himself a world dictator, and the Black Panther came onto the screen and said, "Hey, I've done kicked your butt and ran you out of Wakanda twice. Why don't you come over here for a rematch? Just face me man to man." It was funny. It was very funny. And he got so mad he stormed off the stage and left the building.
Yeah, but I'm sure knowing Steve Rogers as we know him, he has a contingency plan for Wakanda.
I don't know, dude. He was pretty mad, and he done tried to invade it twice, and it didn't work good. It was pretty funny, man. Yeah. It was good. So anyway, now that we warned you about spoilers, so there you go. Okay, we warned you, and I didn't tell you everything else that happened in that issue and what Nation and Superhero he did pound into submission. So we begin with Mary Jane and Annie being late for school, and Mary Jane rebuking her for being late for school, and then Peter Parker fighting the Mole Man, and Mary Jane decides to go assist him with the fight with the Mole Man, even though Peter has insisted that he doesn't want her help, and somehow Mary Jane's powers are related to Peter's, which is something that happens during the fight. And Annie shows up to assist in the fight. They send her away, and at the end, the fight isn't going well.
No.
No. It's actually a very good story, and I really am enjoying this art. This is good art in this book, man.
Yeah, that's all right. I think you're enjoying this book more than I am. I don't dislike it. I'm just it's not happening in the main Marvel universe, so
I mean, it's not great. It's a decent read.
I have a feeling it's going to go somewhere. I mean, it's only issue number 2, so we're just now really getting to explore this.
Right.
What we've had plenty of time to explore is Silk number 15. And it was okay. It was this Silk book.
Speaking of art.
Mm-hmm. You really didn't like the art in this book.
I did not like the art in this book. Great cover. Okay. The cover art was magnificent because the cover artist was really good. The interior art was horrible.
I don't know if I'd say it's horrible, but it's not great. It's all right. It's fine. I don't really know what you dislike about it, but
it's like stick figures with round heads.
No, they don't.
What? Yes, they do.
I'm looking all through this book, and nobody looks like a stick figure.
Start recapping. I'm looking.
Anyway, there's not a whole lot to recap. Recap might be a better word. So we continue with Silk fighting on a rooftop with this new resurrected Spider-Woman, not the Gwen Stacy one or the Jessica Drew one, a different one that I've never heard of. They're duking it out. Meanwhile, Spectro runs afoul of Doc Ock. And then we have a scene with Cindy Moon's family, her brothers waiting up on her dad to come home because he takes a lot of walks. They talk about what Cindy does and why he's still searching for a cure for her, and I think he's going to be linked to New You somehow. Back on the rooftop fight with Silk and this mysterious Spider-Woman, they seem to come to some sort of amicable agreement about, I don't know, they stop punching each other in the face for a minute. I don't know. Doc Ock and Electro take out Spectro and just are trying to decide what to do with him. Later on, Cindy is staffing Jonah Jameson while he's in San Francisco on business. You can't tell, but I'm doing air quotes. She starts talking to him about New You, and Cindy's been doing some research on it, and he tells her to come with her, and he's going to explain to her how New You's doing all these great things. Meanwhile, while they're in the office building of New You, somewhere in the laboratory underneath New You headquarters, Doc Ock is going to be experimenting on her ghost boyfriend. So, yeah, it was irrelevant.
If you look at Jack Kirby's art, one of the things about Kirby's art that revolutionized the industry is he used these lines to accent elbows and knees and fingers and jaws instead of just straight lines and round faces and stick figures like this.
So for you, it's too smooth.
Smooth isn't the word.
It's smooth and rounded.
Dude, that's one word. Yes. Okay.
Unlike
the cover, which the cover's brilliant.
Yeah, the cover looks nice. To each their own. I don't think it's all that bad. You really don't like it.
No, not
in the same way that I really think Robbie Rodriguez's art on Gwen Stacy is phenomenal. You think it sucks. So,
well, no, that's different. That's an art style that I don't appreciate. Where it's just not my taste.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a style that I think sucks.
Okay, well, can't win them all.
Nope.
That's all of our Spider-Man books this week. Moving on to our technically our lone X-Men book.
Yes. all new X-Men number 16. And this book finally got decent. Finally. And it's almost still a solo book, but it's actually a team book. You said a while back, yeah, and let's talk about this for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Well, I kind of do. It's a plot device. Why the Hank McCoy that was brought forward into the future can't grasp the technology of the 2017 era. And apparently he can't. He just can't grasp the technology of the modern era. So he turns to magic.
Yeah, that's why I was going to say. That's why he's turning to magic.
Right. And I don't understand why someone with his intellectual prowess can't grasp the technology. Just can't, spend a few weeks studying, get caught up to speed, and grasp it.
Especially considering how they've been here a little while now.
Right. I don't, and I understand it's a plot device. It is.
But yeah, I think they want to take this beast and make him not just a scientist, but also maybe a mystic. And you have this sort of blending of science and magic, which I think is a neat direction for the character.
Which is obviously what they're doing in this book. I mean, it's not a spoiler to tell you that's what they're going to do, which they obviously are. So what happens here is through his toying with magic in the last couple of issues, he has unleashed this demon portal onto Miami, which the Goblin Queen came through. If you're not familiar with Madeline Pryor, I won't say she's one of my top 10 villains, but she's on the list. She's somewhere in the top 50, probably in the top 25. She's one of my favorite villains because she's been around so long. She was married to Scott Summers. It's she's on the list. Yeah, it's convoluted, but she's one of my favorite villains. And she's just kicked back on the beach, drinking a pina colada while all her demons are doing the work. And the X-Men are losing the fight as the demons are taking over Miami. And basically, the Beast sends out the demons sends out the X-Men to stall for time while he searches for a magical solution. So he goes into the shop to look for magical items. By the way, another shattering of continuity here, where Doctor Strange used up all these items fighting the war in his book, but let's forget about continuity.
Yeah,
and
I wondered about that too when I was reading this. I was like, didn't all this stuff get destroyed? Okay, I guess nothing matters. Okay.
Yeah, nothing matters. Let's forget continuity. Let's forget that. So Beast goes in there and finds items and starts trying to use them, and kind of fails miserably with the first 2 or 3 or 4 attempts, and finally finds one that works, turns himself into some form of demon and attacks the other demons and then the Goblin Queen herself. And whatever he summoned and turned himself into made the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor, turn tail and run, but she made a point of staying, and Beast knows that this is far from over. And I wonder if, and maybe you're aware of this, you're more familiar with these mystical comics than I am. Is that a temporary thing, or is that demon permanently bonded to him?
That's a good question. I don't know, but as they have been hammering away at in all of these comic books, magic has a price. So there's going to be consequences for him doing this for sure, or at least there should be.
Yeah, I gathered that.
You don't just get to turn yourself into a demon for free.
Yeah, and you gathered at the end that he was not happy with it, and there was going to be a price to pay. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's how the book ended. Now I thought this was a good 3-issue story arc. You saw Hank dealing with all these things. You saw him dealing with this at the end, and in the future they're going to continue with Hank dealing with magic. So I know this is going somewhere, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I like this little twist on the character where he's embracing magic. I think it's neat.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to go with the character.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we get to see these guys fight as a team now instead of individual units.
Yeah, it's been one of our major complaints that this has been each issue seems to focus on an individual X-Man, or 1 or 2 of them,
Right.
and this is X-Men, not X-Men. So let's be, and they're not really doing X-Men things
No, they're dating.
except in this
They're going
issue.
to bars and picking up people and
Yeah,
having
they're
social
not.
issues. And anyway,
And Cyclops is playing video games and gets interrupted by a squid creature thingy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
I'll be glad when it's over.
yeah, I agree. On to
Uh,
Uncanny Avengers.
yeah. So the Uncanny Avengers have been dealing with this Hulk who's been reanimated and possessed by a demon of the hand. And none of their plans to stop him have worked, and he's just going on a rampage. So finally, um, they take him out into the water, hoping that'll help. Elektra stabs him in the eyes. That doesn't seem to do much of anything. Um, they shoot him with fire. That doesn't do anything except now it burns his pants off. So now you have a flaming, naked, dead Hulk running around.
I always liked the Naked Hulk.
There's been a lot of naked Hulk happening lately. I would say somebody at Marvel has a naked Hulk fetish. It's probably Joe Quesada. It's Joe Quesada. Everyone go on the internet and talk about how Joe Quesada has a naked Hulk fetish. Thanks.
Okay.
Anyway, Dr. Voodoo finally comes up with a plan. They're going to put him in this like pentagram thing and they'll be able to cleanse his spirit or whatever. They have to fight the Hulk to get him into the pentagram. It works. They've cleansed his soul, but Dr. Voodoo has to trade the life of his brother or something like that. But in the end, he goes back to being Bruce Banner just moments before he goes back to being dead. And then Elektra lays a big wet kiss on Johnny Storm and runs away. And
Well, because he made a joke. That she
yeah,
normally would have killed him for.
right. Yeah. Anyway, they take Bruce Banner's body back to his grave, and then they're all kind of dealing with the fallout of having to have killed Bruce Banner again. And it looks like next issue they'll actually get back around to the Red Skull Xavier Brain storyline, which they've kind of neglected for a while.
Well, I'm hoping we're ramping up towards Secret Empire, and you got Captain America and a team and the Red Skull. So I'm thinking this might be a tie-in.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I don't know. That's pure speculation. Understanding. Sometimes I read things and I know, so I'm saying things with foreknowledge, and sometimes I'm just guessing, and that's a guess. So,
yeah, I would imagine you're right.
Yeah,
yeah. That was the only Avengers book we had. Moving on to our regular Marvel Universe books.
We have Daredevil number 14, and this is an interesting book. It's the
I have really enjoyed the story arc.
This is the part 5 of Dark Art. And in our last issue, Blindspot was chasing Muse, and Muse caught him. And Daredevil lost him in the chase. Daredevil and Frank McGee are both chasing him, and they lost him in the chase. And they're both trying to find him. And Daredevil does something I've never seen him do before, which is sit down and tune out every sound in the city until he finds where they are. And he goes and confronts Muse, and he's got Blindspot there captured. Also, it turns out he's still got the other 113 bodies. This is really morbid. This is not for children.
Yeah, no, this is a really good story, but it's graphic.
It is really graphic. We won't talk about what he's doing with the other 113 people. But he's got them. And there's a scene where he wants Daredevil to turn himself over, and Daredevil won't do it. And he takes out Blindspot's eyes. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he finally lives up to his name.
Yeah. So at that point, Muse tries to get away. Daredevil captures him, finds the 113 people, and captures Muse, and doesn't want to turn him over to Frank but he winds up doing it because he's an Inhuman. And in the last issue, and in the previous issue, Daredevil had a talk with Blindspot about how to make the decisions between laying down his own life and helping people, and when to know how to make that decision. And Blindspot asked him if all those people were okay, and Daredevil said he was, and Blindspot says, "Well, I'm okay with losing my eyes then." And it's really a touching scene. It really is. And they're taking him to New Attilan to try and help him in some form or fashion.
Yeah, now he'll get like robot eyes or something.
Hopefully.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the juxtaposition of Daredevil, who can't see but has these enhanced abilities, and then Blindspot's whole thing was invisibility. So you could make him invisible and have some sort of like high-tech eyes like Geordi does in that Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And it might actually be pretty good.
Movie. Dude, it was like 7 years of episodes and 6 movies. Did you fall out of your chair?
No, well, I dropped my phone.
Okay.
The one, I can't remember the name of it, but Geordi actually gets enhanced eyes in one of the movies.
Okay. Yes, he does.
He doesn't, he quits wearing the visor after that point.
Yeah, I can't remember which movie it is.
Yeah, it's actually the one I like the most, and I can't remember the name of it right now. Oh well, it's not important. What is important is this Deadpool Back in Black book.
Yeah.
It was just a transition. I'm actually kind of glad it's done. This is number 5. It is the last issue. So through this whole thing, Killer Thrill has been pursuing Deadpool through the whole series. She wants the symbiote that he's wearing. So she finally catches up to him. Most of this book is them duking it out. Deadpool starts to lose control of the Venom symbiote. He's able to push back with the help of the enraged symbiote. He's able to push back and get her to run off. In fact, he actually cuts her arm off and eats it, which is really gross. But the issue ends with the Venom symbiote kind of going crazy, and it basically spits Wade out. And then later on, he finds himself at wherever it is that Flash Thompson or whoever picks up the symbiote later on. Remember, this all happens in the 80s when the original Venom story happened. Also, there's the Collector for some reason. It was okay. I'm glad it's over.
It was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sufficient. What was better than okay was Fool Killer number 2.
Dude, that was good.
I did not expect to like this series, and I liked it a lot. And it's only 2 issues in.
I'm really surprised by how good this series is.
Yeah, particularly considering the last comic book that Max Bemis wrote you hated. So, yes. So Fool Killer has gone back to his old ways of killing, and now S.H.I.E.L.D. is here, and he knows his goose is cooked. Except maybe it's not. S.H.I.E.L.D. has this idea to use him as like therapy for a way to reform villains that they capture. And there's one particularly funny villain in here. I won't spoil it for you, but he's amusing. And the ones that they're unable to reform, well, that's what Fool Killer's for. So it's a nice gig until he arrives home one night to find a mysterious package containing a DVD showing his girlfriend's past as a murderer. So we understand that Fool Killer's crazy, and that when he sees these sorts of things, he feels obligated to kill these people. So now he's conflicted. Is he going to have to kill the woman he loves? Maybe. Probably. But before he does that, he intends to find the person who left him that package. And yeah, man, I hope it continues to be this good because I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah.
So next up, we have, was that yeah to yeah you enjoyed it, or yeah to the question I sent you, or both? Next, we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 15. And
yeah, this is billed as the Guardians of the Galaxy book, but really, this whole thing should be an issue of Infamous Iron Man.
it should, because that infamous Iron Man book came out, what, last week before last?
Yeah.
And that's really what it is an infamous
Yeah,
Iron
it
Man
takes
book.
place, a short time before that, and it deals with all the plot lines that deals with. So to tell me that this is a Guardians of the Galaxy book is like saying that the last issue was a Guardians of the Galaxy book, where really it was about Spider-Man.
Yeah, and this is really about Ben Grimm leaving the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's really what this is about. I mean, at the end, he asked, Maria Hill if she can get a note to Peter Quill saying I quit, because that's really what happens here.
Yeah, that's the only connection to the Guardians of the Galaxy that this book has.
And I'm trying to figure out if Bendis is killing time between arcs or something.
Maybe, but I wish they'd get somewhere with it.
So anyway, Ben Grimm's kind of he's on Earth. The problem is he doesn't have any money. The Reed and Sue are gone. Apparently, he wasn't smart enough to set up a safety deposit box somewhere when he left. So he goes and sees his old friend, the tailor, who hooks him up with some cash and some clothes. And he goes to get a pizza, and Maria Hill comes and sees him and says, "Look, I need you to track down Dr. Doom." And he doesn't believe her. So he goes and sees Mary Jane Watson, and they have a long talk about Tony Stark and Dr. Doom and everything that Dr. Doom's been doing. And again, we learn about Tony Stark if you didn't already know. And he goes back and sees Maria Hill. And Maria Hill hooks him up with everything he needs. License, passport, money, credit cards, clothes, including one of his old Fantastic cars. And he goes and sees Amara Pereira. And that's where we leave off, which I think is right where we picked up in Infamous Iron Man.
Yeah, from an issue or two ago.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good story. I liked it a lot, but dude, it ain't a Guardians of the Galaxy story. I don't know why Guardians of the Galaxy is on the cover of this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So moving on to our big event book this week, it's the Gwenpool Holiday Special.
Did you read all 127 pages of this?
Yes, it's only 55 pages, but
okay,
that's still entirely too many. Listen,
I thought it was 80.
No, it's 55.
Honest, is it 55? Okay.
Yeah, I like Gwenpool. I don't love Gwenpool. I like her. So when you give me a holiday themed issue, I'm fine with that. It seems appropriate for that book. But 55 pages and 4 different stories is a little much. And what'd you tell me this was on the newsstand? Like $6.99, $7-8?
I think it's $6.99.
Yeah. $7 for 4 Gwenpool stories. And it sold what? Less than 40,000 copies?
It sold 40,000 copies, which, dude, in this day and age isn't bad.
I thought it sold less than that.
It was something like that. I mean, that's a top 100 book. I think it was in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean,
that's in the 80s.
I was thinking it was south of 30,000.
I don't know. I can look it up.
Okay. I thought it did not sell well.
I mean, depending on how fast you're going to ask me to do my next book, I can look it up.
Nah, it's not important. Either way, it was a heavy dose of Gwenpool that, I don't know. I'm full on the Gwenpool this week. That being said, it wasn't awful. If you can get into these goofy, funny books like Gwenpool, like Spider-Girl, Squirrel Girl, and the Hellcat book. If you can get into those, I think you'll enjoy this. So we start out, and all these stories are loosely connected. We start out, it's Christmas time in New York, and Gwenpool and all her minions at Batroc and all those folks that she's working with are getting or talking about holiday traditions. And it turns out in this universe, they, instead of Santa, you have Galactus, and there's all the holidays are different, and there's Pantsgiving, which is instead of Thanksgiving, where you give each other pants or something. Anyway, it turns out something's wrong. Like something has gone wrong and it's messed up all the holidays, which Gwenpool, at first, she just thinks that this is how it is in this universe, and that's wacky and zany. But then she realizes something bigger has happened. So she sets off for the North Pole to figure out what's wrong with Christmas. The second story is Miles Morales fighting Fin Fang Foom. Because
why?
I don't know. There's been way too much Fin Fang Foom happening in the last couple of months. There's just too much. The Red Skull, MODOK, and Thanos also make an appearance, but Galactus runs them off. Yeah, anyway. Then we get the explanation of Pantsgiving, which is a holiday where you give pants to each other.
I'm so glad I didn't read this book.
Yeah, and it involves Ronnie from Big Ronnie's superhero costumes, which is where all the superheroes buy their costumes.
So glad I didn't read this book.
Again, like I said, if you can get into the funnier books, this is it's interesting. The Punisher's in it, which is actually pretty entertaining. He fights Fin Fang Foom too. Then later you actually get to see him wearing his hot pants, because that's what you do for Pantsgiving. Then you have a Hydra Christmas where the Red Skull is really jazzed about Christmas or something.
Dude.
Yeah,
I'm tired of hearing you talk about it. Nonetheless, read it.
And later it turns out that Gwenpool goes to visit Santa. Santa has decided he wants to retire from the Christmas business. Turns out that him doing so magically affected all of the holidays, and now they're all messed up. So now he has to go back to doing the Christmas thing, and it sets all the holidays right. It's a lot.
33,240 people bought this.
Okay, so that's not great. It's moderate. At $7 a pop. It's a lot of Gwenpool, dude. And we got another Gwenpool book this next week. And it's better than All New Wolverine, Mosaic, Deathstroke, Supergirl, Uncanny Avengers, Daredevil. That's just sad. Anyway, it could have been really bad. Instead, it was just mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why we're getting holiday specials, it's because 6 months ago it was Christmas time. Which, by the way, is your warning that it's only 6 months till Christmas.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hawkeye #1. That's my cue. I hope you were done, because I'm moving on.
Yeah, I'm moving. Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
We're done with the Gwenpool book.
This is Kate Bishop #1, who has relocated to Los Angeles. Why are all these heroes relocating to Los Angeles?
I don't think she's in Los Angeles.
I think she is.
She's somewhere in California. It don't matter.
Anyway, so she's out there setting up a new life as a private investigator. Problem is, it doesn't go very well because everyone thinks she's Clint Barton, and half the people come by to thank her for killing the Hulk. The other half come by wanting to beat her up for killing the Hulk.
Yeah, and the other half thinks she's an optometrist.
Right, because she's Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. Finally, she gets a real case. There's a college girl that's being stalked, and she thinks she does a good job of solving the case, except it doesn't work out very well at the end because she thinks she catches the stalker, but somehow stalker gets the girl and leaves a business card that I'm probably supposed to recognize, but I don't. Did you recognize
Yeah, I didn't either.
the business card?
No, I'm sure we'll find out what it means.
I'm sure I'm supposed to, but I didn't.
I thought this was a decent first issue.
It was a decent first issue. I actually enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, I think this is what you need to do if you're going to do a Kate Bishop centered book. Is you need to do something like this. You need to move her out on her own, doing her own thing, set up shop, doing her own stuff, put her in her own setting with her own supporting characters, and you have one of her Young Avenger friends drop in occasionally, or she fights a particular villain, but for the most part, this needs to be her moving to a new place, finding new friends, and introducing new characters, and her doing stuff that we haven't seen her do in the past.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, it was one of those books I was like, Hawkeye, whatever. And then I read it and I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board.
Yeah. Tell you what I also enjoyed. I've actually enjoyed this much more than I thought I would, which is Mosaic #3.
Oh, did you? You kind of didn't care for the first couple of issues.
I didn't care for the first issue. The next two I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, we're really exploring who this character is in these first issues, and I'm hoping he ends up having some relevance in the Marvel universe and doesn't just disappear. Because I think he's a really cool new character. So to recap, Mosaic confronts his friend that he just possessed, and apparently his friend's the only one who can see him. I don't know if this means that people he possessed can see him, or the only people that can see him. I don't know. I assume that's what that means.
I think he didn't even know that. I think he was kind of confused by that also.
Well, yeah, he's still figuring out his powers, which is what these first 3 issues have been. And I imagine the first 5 to 6 issues will be just all him figuring out how this all works. He also learns that he can't jump back into people after having possessed them, which is also new. So while this is going on, his girlfriend and her assistant show up. He decides to possess his girlfriend's assistant. And unknowing or not knowing what's really been going on, he has this whole world turned upside down. And he finds out that his whole relationship with this girl has been a business deal brokered between her and his father. It was all done to improve his status as an athlete and appeal to certain demographics, and it's to boost her hip hop career. So it turns out she's actually romantically involved with her assistant, who is also a woman. This is it's a pretty big revelation for him in a time when he's having nothing but big revelations. His whole life has changed in a moment, and now this has happened. So after that, he decides to get the heck out of Dodge. He happens to find Spider-Man swinging by and possesses him. And now what? I don't know, because that's the end of the issue. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. And this is cool, dude. I'm enjoying this book.
I am too. It's good.
It's another one of those, much like Fool Killer, it's surprising me.
Me also. Me too.
It's becoming one of those books that when I see it, I go, ooh, I want to read that, instead of just going, what else is there?
Yeah. Yep. Something I didn't want to read, but I actually kind of enjoyed, is Old Man Logan 15. Because I'm really not into this whole monster thing. But fortunately, I thought this was going to be a longer arc than this, but this was
short.
It was only a 2-issue arc.
Yeah, it's a 2-issue arc.
So, golly, what are these SHIELD guys called?
The Howling Commandos.
The Howling Commandos. There you go. So Wolverine and Howling Commandos are fighting all the vampires up there at Dracula's castle, and Wolverine gets bitten by Dracula, and we're trying to decide if, and everyone's trying to figure out if his healing powers are actually going to fight off Dracula. And they're there in Dracula's throne room, and Jubilee manages to fight off Dracula's willpower, which I'm not sure how she does, but somehow she does.
Through plot devices.
There you go. Through plot devices, and it's pretty funny because the Howling Commandos call in for backup, and Orgo shows up, which I thought was entertaining.
Yeah, I like Orgo a lot.
I like him a lot too.
Funny.
And that's probably the best part of the book was Orgo showing up and ripping the castle apart.
You're just smashing stuff, and he's complaining about how this is going to lead to him doing a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, which is just, it's hilarious. And if you don't know, Orgo is just this giant creature that's just
he's just a giant orange creature guy.
Just a giant orange creature. I'm takes up what, a city block, I guess.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah. So anyway, he kind of turns the tide of battle. Dracula runs for his life. Wolverine and Jubilee wind up defeating Dracula, and I think Orgo might crush him some, and that's kind of that. And Wolverine and Jubilee live happily ever after. There you go.
Yeah, 2-issue arc, kind of a detour while we get through Monsters Unleashed, which has not been as bad as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, we'll get back to business next week, or next time we get Old Man Logan. 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah. So, it was all right.
Yeah. What was also all right was Power Man 9 Fist number 11.
That was actually good. I enjoyed that.
It was okay. It finally got somewhere.
Dude, it's better than Cage.
Oh God. Let's not even talk about that travesty.
Better than Totally Awesome Hulk.
Oh, was it?
Dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll talk about it in a moment.
Anyway, so it looks like the Fang Gang's getting back together to do business. Meanwhile, Luke tracks down Disco Devil, wondering why he's gone dark after being sent out on a mission. Something's got Disco Devil super spooked. Black Cat is scheming, as we keep seeing in various books. She's really consolidating her power. We're seeing this all over the Marvel comic books right now. Every time you see some, crime boss doing something, it's always Black Cat. Finally, it looks like Gadget has cracked the Agnetus software, and they finally figure out not only what it's being used for, why it's being used, and who may be using it. And at the end, we see who's been organizing the Fang Gang, and it's some guy I've never heard of.
Me either.
Yeah, I don't know. It was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
What wasn't okay?
Was Totally Awesome Hulk. Yeah.
Dude, you got Jeremy Lin. I mean, Armadeus Cho was out.
I didn't even know who Jeremy Lin was until this comic book.
Jeremy Lin is an NBA player who shows up, wants to shoot around with Armadeus Cho. Suddenly they're buds. They hang out for the issue. He asked Armadeus Cho to show up at a charity basketball event. Suddenly the other team is monsters. The Hulk turns into a monster. Suddenly people are, attacking. I don't even know. I don't even care. I don't. Is Marvel pimping for Jeremy Lin or something? I don't. I mean, are they trying to sell comic books with Jeremy Lin on the cover? I don't.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, are they trying to sell books? All kidding aside, are they trying to increase their market presence in Asia with Jeremy Lin on the cover?
Or just appeal to basketball fans? I don't understand.
If you're going to appeal to basketball fans, you don't do it with Jeremy Lin.
Well, dude.
I mean, you do it with Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James or somebody. You don't do it with Jeremy Lin.
You know how many NBA fans are walking into comic book stores and seeing this? Almost zero.
Dude, I don't understand, man.
It's just like that wrestling issue of Captain America a little while ago. I don't you just told a basketball story with the Hulk.
And you're stretching it over 2 issues.
Yeah, totally unnecessary. This book sucks. Whoever decided they should do this sucks and should lose their job.
I don't.
It's probably filler. Let's be honest. It's probably some filler so that Greg Pak can get, or Mark Waid, or whoever's writing this, can get back to what they were doing. or can get a little bit ahead. But who cares about the Hulk playing basketball with Jeremy Lin? Nobody.
Dude, I
If
don't,
I had spent $4 on this, I'd be so mad.
I'd be 14 kinds of irritated.
Yeah,
I would.
me too.
So, and then we have Squirrel Girl number 15, which is told through the eyes of Mew the cat.
Yeah,
Did you read this?
Squirrel Girl's cat.
Did you read this?
No.
Okay.
I'm a little behind on my Squirrel Girl reading.
She's fighting Taskmaster. Spider-Man, Captain America, Sam Wilson are there helping her. And the Hulk's there. And the whole thing is told through the story, through the eyes of the cat. And she can't figure out how to defeat the Taskmaster until the dog and the cat have to give her signals to use her tail, because her tail is the only thing the Taskmaster can't mimic. So she uses her tail to defeat the Taskmaster because the cat tells her to do it via signals, because she communicates with animals.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have the cat digging through trash and looking for animals and eating pizza. And
I'm sure this is much funnier when you actually read it.
You'd be surprised.
It sounds a little silly. And I mean, this is a silly book, but
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I have faith.
It's not a lot better.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Okay. Well, whatever.
I mean, it's all those characters fighting the Taskmaster. I would have liked to have really seen the story.
Yeah. It's Squirrel Girl, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Moving to the Star Wars universe for our last book this week, we get another issue of Poe Dameron. So Poe and 3PO continue their mission on Kadak, attempting to find one of 3PO's droid spies who may have some important intel regarding the First Order. Also, I'd like to continue appreciating the fact that C-3PO is a droid spy master and runs a galactic syndicate of droid spies.
Poe Dameron's really impressed with him.
Yeah, he should be. He's running an entire galactic ring of spies, and no one suspects. Anyway, Agent Terex has also arrived on the planet because, of course, he has. Turns out he actually used to run one of the gangs here after his Empire days. And he's come back to take what's his, and he's going to take back leadership of his old gang. And with their help, he's going to break into an old Empire hangar and take a bunch of TIE fighters that are inside, and they're going to rebuild the Empire. Or at least that's his plan. Unfortunately, in retrieving the intel from the droid, Poe Dameron and C-3PO are ambushed by this gang and captured, and who knows what might happen next.
There you go.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed this Poe Dameron book.
This was a good issue, and this has been a good series.
Yeah, and he was a character that we needed to explore a little more. And yeah, I think I've enjoyed this book. By the way, you don't see him a whole lot in this issue, but Poe Dameron's got one of his Black Squadron guys with him. I forget what his name is, but he's like their mechanic. And I don't know why he came along with Poe on the mission, but he's real timid and shy, which makes me think that he's probably the mole in the Resistance.
Okay.
If you remember a few issues ago, that was the problem, is they have a mole in the Resistance and who's feeding their enemies intel. And that guy gives me the vibe that maybe it's him.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Anyway, so what was your favorite book this week?
That's a good question. IVX #1.
Really?
Yeah. That Uncanny book came close, but IVX #1.
Yeah, I would say either IVX #1 or Fool Killer #2. It's or maybe Daredevil. I'm gonna call it a three-way tie between those. IVX #1, Fool Killer #2, and Daredevil #14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we had some more Alpha Flight in the dump this week. We also got a Cyclops and Phoenix comic that I was not familiar with.
It has to do with it came out of X Factor when they were. It has to do with the years where they went and raised Cable in the future, and it's kind of the years they spent up there in the future raising Nathan Summers as a baby.
Oh,
it's an odd series.
All righty then. Yeah, go read that if you're at all interested in Nathan Summers as a baby.
There you go.
Yeah.
The classic read this week is the Alpha Flight series that actually there's more books of in the dump. Now that they're finally putting it out, the first 12 issues of that are a really good arc. John Byrne basically created Alpha Flight. It was he and Claremont brainstormed Alpha Flight, I think in Uncanny 118 and 119. And shortly after that, it launched into its own series. And the first 12 issues are really just one arc that conclude in issue 12 where they kill off one of the major characters. And it's a really good read. And those issues are there. Some of John Byrne's best work. And he went on to do a lot of things. He had a very long run on Fantastic Four. He did this Alpha Flight series. He created, I want to say it was the Next Men in his own title. He had a very long, very, very good career. But these first 12 issues of Alpha Flight, he went on and wrote Alpha Flight for 2 or 3 years. These first 12 issues of Alpha Flight, really, really good. Some of his best work.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you're interested in Alpha Flight, go read that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that pretty much ramps us up for the week. Please remember to go check out our other podcast, What's Next? We're talking about Astonishing X-Men this week. Please send us an email at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. You could also visit our website,
www.6monthsbehind.com.
Cool. Pat, before we go, do you have any wisdom for our true believers?
Thank God I don't have to hunt for food because I don't even know where tacos live.
They live in Mexico. Duh.
There you go, man.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.